Hello folks, welcome to today's test ride. I'm very excited about today's because it's going to be on this, the new Kawasaki Z900. Now Kawasaki used to have a Z800 and a Z1000. They've split the difference, made a brand new bike, this one, the Z900. This is a segment I'm really interested in. If you saw my last video, you know I bought an MT09, and I just think these large capacity naked bikes are a lot of fun and make a lot of sense on the road. So super keen to see how the Z900 compares, and very keen to let you guys know what I think of it. So let's get started, talk about the Z900. Alright, so let's get started talking about the Z900. You might notice this little gadget here. I'm trying out a new selfie mode today just to try and break things up a little bit. So before I get started talking about the Z900, thank you again to Shane and his team at Sydney City Motorcycles for lending me the Z900. They're the ones who make these test rides possible, and they do watch the videos. So if you enjoy this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, let them know you're watching, and hopefully they'll let me take out a few more bikes in the future and keep bringing you these videos. Super excited for this test ride because I've heard good things from friends about this bike. It's getting good reviews, and like I was saying before, these kind of bikes just make a lot of sense to me on the road. See me? You know, you've got that grunty motor, upright seating position, all-day comfort, and still plenty of sporting potential. So what do I want to find out today? Well, like I was saying, they've split the difference. They used to have a Z800 and a Z1000. Both of those have been discontinued. So I guess this is their top-of-the-line naked bike now. So I want to see how it compares to similar things in the segment and just get a feel for how it would behave as an everyday bike. This is normally where I do my acceleration test. I've got a bit of traffic, so I might just hold back a little bit here. I'm in first gear, so I'm expecting this to be pretty rapid. Woo! Oh, wow. How good is inline 4 power? Oh man. When you get to about 6,000, 5 or 6,000, there's obviously a lot more air getting through the airbox because it really starts to bark, and oh, that sounded super cool. Before I got going this morning, I took a clip of the exhaust on my sound recorder as well, so I'll splice that in here and you can get a feel for what this Kawasaki Z900 sounds like. I probably should have mentioned as well, if you're not familiar with the Z900, this is an inline 4-cylinder. And even though they say Z900, it's nearly 950 cc's. But I think Kawasaki quotes about 120 horsepower, which is a pretty handsome amount of power. Should be plenty useful for road riding. Okay, first impression on the ergonomics. If you saw my last video, you'll know that I recently bought myself an MT09. And given that these are kind of competitors, I think that's a good reference point. To me, the Z900 feels a bit more compact and a bit more sporty. So I know a lot of people say the MT09 feels a bit more supermoto, and I think that's fair. The MT09's very tall and very wide in the cockpit, whereas on the Z900 I feel like my legs are a bit more tucked up, and the scallop in the tank here locks me into place. So it's a really good sports riding position, definitely. I rode the Z650 a couple of months back. I'll post a link to that review up here. And the Z650 definitely feels more relaxed. for comparison. The Z650, you're almost bolt upright, very relaxed handlebars. Don't get me wrong, this is still a comfy seating position, but it's obvious that this has more sporty intentions than the 650. What I just noticed then is I've been cruising around in 4th gear for about the last 5 minutes. I think that's testament to the torquiness of this 950. Inline 4 cylinders are renowned for making their power up high in the rev range, but this has got a nice torquey amount of power right off the bottom, so that's nice from a tractability, town use point of view. I usually come into this car park here to do a U-turn test, because I think that's a good way to check whether it's handy for city riding. So got it in 1st gear, fast idle, just going to turn it around. Yeah, it's not the best turning circle of a bike of this type. And I'll just stop for a second here. One thing I've just noticed, don't know if you'll be able to pick it up on the camera, but this scallop here protrudes quite a lot. So when I've got the bars turned like this, your wrist is in the way. So you've either got to kind of raise your wrist and get a bit of an awkward position going on, or not use full lock. So it is a little bit tricky from that point of view. Still, more manoeuvrable than anything with clip-ons, so it's still going to be much more handy for city use. Okay, hopefully a few less cars this time, and we can try out a couple of corners. It feels very composed, very smooth. I love the connection between the throttle and what happens at the back wheel. Like just then, you get to the kind of the apex part of a corner and you start to wind on, and it's just very smooth and predictable. Yeah, that's the easiest way to describe it. The engine is very smooth and does exactly what you want it to, which is fantastic for sport riding, obviously. Okay, I don't have anything behind me here, so I might just have a bit of a go on the brakes. So I'm accelerating up to about 80. Firm on the levers. Good stopping power. I mean, I'd expect nothing less. It's got nice big twin disc, twin caliper setup at the front. I felt a little bit of a judder of ABS coming through, but very composed. Not a massive amount of pitch onto the front wheel. Just felt very stable. So given that I own an MT09, it's kind of impossible for me to not start comparing this to an MT09, but a couple of little things I noticed straight away. The suspension on this feels a little firmer. And where I notice that is where the MT09 tends to pitch a bit front to back because it's very softly sprung. The Z900 feels sort of a bit flatter and a bit more composed in the corners, which I really like. It feels, dare I say it, a little bit sportier, I think, than the MT09 straight out of the box. One interesting point though, this does weigh like 15 kilos more than an MT09, so it's obviously hiding its weight quite well as well, because I think MT09 full of fuel, ready to go, is like 195 kilos. This thing's like 210. So it is giving away a bit of a weight penalty to the MT09, but you wouldn't know it. And that acceleration there, I barely leaned on the throttle. That is beautiful. Oh man, I really like this bike. Gee, I tell you what, if you're in the market for a middleweight naked bike, geez, you've got some good choices at the moment. You all know I love the Street Triple RS. MT09, obviously, I think is a great balance between grunt, character, and price. And then you've got this, the Z900, which is just fast, smooth, effective. This is beautiful, this bike. The only thing I would mention is Kawasaki have left a couple of things off this bike, which I think is to keep the price down a little bit. which I mean is great because it means you don't pay for any stuff that you might not want. But for example, this bike doesn't have traction control, which you do get on the MT09 and the Street Triple. And you've also got limited suspension adjustment. So compared to the Street Triple, which is fully adjustable, the MT09 again, which is fully adjustable, this one has slightly more limited suspension tuning. But like I was just saying before, this thing's really good out of the box. So unless you're chasing that last 5 or 10%, I don't even know if you're even going to notice that or want to tinker with the suspension that much. So that might not be that much of a downer for you. And I know a lot of people like that, especially more old school riders. They love turnkey motorcycles, and the Z900 is exactly that. You know, it's super refined. They've spent all their effort on getting it to work properly on its own. Forget about traction control, forget about modes, just make it work as it is. And I think that's fantastic because it's a no-nonsense bike. You just get on and just enjoy it straight away. As for all the other accessories, it's got this modern dash that I'm not a massive fan of personally. I don't like the digital tacho that kind of moves as the revs rise, but whatever, that's just my personal opinion. And I mean, the Street Triple dash is in a league of its own in that regard. But the Street Triple, again, is 50% dearer than this bike. So, you know, you'd kind of expect a nice TFT dash and a few little goodies. Whereas if you compare this to the MT09 dash, it's, you know, it's got all the features. And I think most people would probably say it's easier to read as well. It's funny, I feel like I've made about 8 points in favour of the Z900 over the MT09. And yet, I'm still happy with my decision to purchase an MT09. It's hard to describe. This is a very different bike to the MT09. This is much closer to your inline 4 sports bike kind of style, I think. I always come through this little shopping neighbourhood on the way back, and I'm pleased to report this bike's got super good town manners as well. Like, yeah, it makes a crap load of power above 6,000 RPM, but it's not a pain to ride around at low speed and low revs. It just kind of idles along. You can use the torque. It's very nice. Oh, this is an awkward spot to be in. Don't want to be right here while this person's reversing. Yeah, it's a doddle at town speed, and then you get it out on the road and bam, just performance in spades. Wow, and just like that, the test ride is done. I am super impressed with this bike. This is an absolute cracker. And like I was saying, there is a lot of competition in this segment at the moment. You've got some amazing options. I wouldn't really say whether this is better, worse than the MT09 and the Street Triple. I just think they're different, and horses for courses. Go try them all and see what you like. But thanks again for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate your support. If this is the first time you're watching one of these videos, I do the test rides on a regular basis, so hit that subscribe button to be notified when the newest ones come out. And if you want to know anything else about the Z900, hit me up in the comments below. Thanks for watching, guys. Speak to you soon.